All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back. Welcome to Tomboy Official. On this podcast, we talk about LGBT topics, gender, sexuality. I want to kind of talk about a topic that's maybe kind of just interesting, maybe relatable. I think a lot of people can maybe relate to it. Kind of around finances, friends, travel. If you're traveling with like LGBT people, and just kind of different social dynamics. Now this isn't like a personal story. So I recently started tuning back in to a YouTuber's channel that I used to watch. There was no reason why I stopped watching necessarily. I just kind of sometimes you watch things and then you just like fall off of watching them. And so the YouTuber Taco, Taco, used to be online as Taco Tarantino, and also has like a podcast that I haven't checked out yet. It seems like the YouTube channel, they mostly do like story times, and last night I tuned into one that was old. It was kind of more about some recurring dreams that they were having, and then the one that I was just listening to that was interesting, it brought up a lot of interesting topics, called Super Gremlin. So this is from now, it's about 4 months ago, and it's called Super Gremlin. It has a couple emojis. One of them's like a little yawn emoji, and the other one is like a little devilish wild thing looking emoji. So the story goes, I mean, this is going to be a complete spoiler if you don't, if you want to listen to it yourself. It's about a 1 hour, 19 minute, episode on YouTube, but, I'm about 59 minutes in, but I just wanted to record about kind of like, I try to review things in a way that's just like my thoughts on things, not necessarily like, oh, this was like negative about how they presented it. I mean, I can usually find a lot of positive stuff about how people present stuff. I mean, I like the stories. I think they're fun. They're really thought-provoking, relatable. I like the energy behind it. I like just kind of how Taco is kind of like fun. I didn't follow the whole journey of how the videos started becoming more of story times that weren't necessarily maybe lesbian or sexual topics. These topics seem to be a little more a variety of topics, but it seems like Taco hangs out with, has like queer friends, and does identify as, I don't know their specific like gender identity or label specifically, but I know before they used to identify as a female lesbian. But again, like I'm saying, I haven't tuned in a really long time, so I'm not like fully caught up. I've only listened to one last night and then this one today. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably tune back into this again because I like the stories. I like lengthy stories. And they're fun, and they're not like, it's not too long to listen, but it's just long enough to listen because it's kind of like a fun idea. So, okay, what I liked So the story goes like this, pretty much. And if you don't want me to spoil it, you should go ahead and like listen to it before you listen to this podcast episode currently. So you can have your own explanation. But basically, Taco was talking about a scenario when they went to this trip with two people that were sisters and one person that was a friend of that group, but I guess that other person kind of knew those sisters more, and Taco knew this person but maybe wasn't as familiar as with hanging out. So it turns out they get to the airport. That person didn't have enough money for the ticket. They're going to Florida. I don't know from where. I want to say Taco lives in Georgia, but I could be wrong about that. But flying to Florida, and having to help them with paying. Like, everyone else had ordered their tickets in advance, and then this person was like at the airport like, hey, I need help paying my ticket. So they had to pitch in, and it seems like there was some trouble with the paying all along in the story. That friend was also just kind of like, they get to the location after the airport, and they go to the what's it called, to the Airbnb, and they're splitting it with four of them. They took a Mercedes 2-door that the sisters had paid for, and I think the sisters had paid for the Airbnb room. And the whole time this other person was just like complaining about the Airbnb, instead of getting like a hotel with a lobby with breakfast and all that kind of stuff, or complaining that they got a 2-door instead of a 4-door, and how is she gonna look coming out of the 2-door. They go to a hookah spot. This person needs to borrow $5 for a $15 cover. They didn't buy any hookah or any drinks or anything like that. Taco purchased shots for all four of them. The sisters also purchased the first round of shots for all four of them, and then they all had their own separate drinks, except for this one person who kept ordering like the free water and lemon, and then started getting a little upset that nobody asked this person like if they wanted anything. And so when they had asked, they started kind of when they had asked to try to pay, to pay for something for them, they kind of, that extra person was kind of like just kind of like giving them a hard time, like kind of like, no, I don't really want anything, but eventually ended up getting a drink. The next day, they go to breakfast, and mind you, this is, I think they said Miami in Florida, so it's hot, and that person hadn't eaten since the snacks on the flight, and didn't eat that night before when they first arrived, and then that morning they're going for breakfast, and the two sisters got 2 pitchers of mimosas, and this person was not ordering breakfast, even though they kind of asked multiple times, like, hey, do you want something, do you want some breakfast? And that person was saying like, no, I don't really want anything. And eventually she ordered like a very small breakfast of it sounds like a pancake and 3 turkey bacon strips, and then ate it all. And then when they were all going up front to pay, it was Taco and the other 2 sisters that were, basically they were going to pay because they knew they had money, and they knew they were pitching in for this other person I believe it sounds like the sisters were pitching in for this other friend of theirs, and you know, that person came to the register and was saying like, hey, can you take the pancake and the turkey bacon off, off the bill, because it wasn't that good, even though they had eaten it all. And then eventually they got into this conversation. Like previously in the story, I guess Taco had mentioned, like, why are you being rude? Other people are paying for your stuff. Like, why? Because this, like, she was being rude to the sisters who were, like, actually helping her out. She wasn't being, like, kind or, like, nice about it. And they also, like, so during that time at the register, she made this comment, like, I'm grown, I can take care of myself. That's kind of where I stopped at the story. There's still like 20 minutes left, but I mean, Taco adds a lot of humor into it as well, just like the explanations of things. And like, I'm not really into like dramatic stories too much, but sometimes it's kind of fun just to hear somebody post something like some drama. I don't know if I would be comfortable with it. I like to keep my family and friend drama to myself, really. But I mean, I get it. I mean, I totally get it. Like, that would be an aggravating situation. The last time I traveled with a group of friends, it was a great group. I think it was like 8 or 10 of us or something. We went snowboarding. It was a good time. Everyone was very positive. When there were things that we had to split with the bill and everything like that, we were kind of, on the, like, splitting the bill basically. And everybody paid for their stuff, and it was like smooth. There were things that happened here and there, like people forgetting their phone, someone forgetting their phone, or like, airport security taking long, like little things. But it's like everyone was like in the mindset of like, we all were there to have a positive, nice, great trip, good experience together. And I was a little worried. I was like, what if it gets a little out of hand with the drinking, or what if it gets a little out of hand with like, if people get a little like feisty or something. But nothing like that happened. Everyone was just chill and positive like the whole time. It was a fun time. And it was really nice. And so I think if I had a trip where, there was a situation going on like this one that Taco was explaining, it might be a little bit disappointing to be like, damn, I spent all this money and all this time planning, and like we were not all on the same page. But it sounds like Taco, those sisters were saying to Taco that this person is always like this. And I'm just like, really? Like, that's weird. Like, the whole thing to me is weird. Now, I try not to be like super judgmental about people and about things, but it's kind of like, from the outside, it's like I don't know any of these people at all, so I don't really feel like it's necessarily like against my values too much to comment on it. But when I think about social settings and like safe spaces and like just kind of like overall like a general good time with your buddies, and like especially when you're like with your LGBT friends and things like that, and you want to just go out and have fun, no drama, no situations coming up and stuff. I felt like, yeah, like it would be really challenging to have a multiple day trip with a person who's kind of being like that, and you're not even in your home state, you're nowhere near home. You're sharing, I think Taco was sharing a room with this person. And, it's just kind of like everyone else is kind of pulling their weight, pitching in. Taco made some good points. It's like, well, If you're not in a place where you can afford to travel, you can't afford the ticket, you can't really afford the covers, you can't afford your food, you can't afford the drinks, you can't afford to go do what's going to be done, as the group is like trying to like have fun and like have, sightseeing or whatever they're doing. Maybe that's not the best time to travel and take care of your bills, like that's not a priority necessarily, I would say. Even though it is, it would be fun to do it. It would be way more fun than to not go, and you'd miss maybe an opportunity of those specific experiences with that group at that time period. But otherwise, it doesn't sound like that person made maybe the most responsible of decisions to come on the trip if they couldn't really afford it. And it sounds like they knew they couldn't afford it because they couldn't even afford the plane ticket. It's not like they got there and then it's like, oh shoot, I looked at my bank and like there's no like money on here. But I just felt like that's weird. Something's got to be up with that situation. Because it's like for someone to have to their defense, like at up around like minute 59 or so, when that extra person was saying like, I'm a grown person, I can take care of myself. And it's kind of like, well, other people are taking full care of you. Like, you came on a trip, you couldn't pay in the beginning, you couldn't pay the cover, you didn't pitch in for the rides, you didn't pitch in for the place to stay, you're not affording your own food, like you're not even affording the basic stuff of where they go into establishments to be able to like pay for your own things. I mean, I don't know. I've gone on a trip before where I didn't have a lot of money. I was able to get there and back. I didn't have a lot of money, but I knew kind of where I was going to be and what we were going to be doing. And I had enough money for like the 2 nights I was going to be going out. And I had enough money to buy like, I purposely got like a hotel. This was in San Francisco when I went to San Francisco Pride in like 2019 or something. I had enough money for the hotel and, what's it called? Like to go, how they have those little shops, like convenience markets. So I had enough money to go get like, cause I'd researched out the area. So I was like, we're going to get the cheapest hotel and get it close enough that we can like walk places where we can like buy food. It wasn't like full on groceries. It was like, I got like PB&J, some noodles, some bread, I think maybe like some little like disposable cutlery, water, probably some other snacks of other types. Like I can't remember exactly, but I do remember the noodles and the PB&J. And I was like, I'm only here for like 2 days, and I don't want to spend all my money out, because I know there's going to be costs for covers and Ubers and all that kind of stuff. I was like, all I really need to do is get to and from the airport, have enough food while I'm here, and be able to afford my covers. Like, so I was very limited on funds, but I was like able to pay for stuff, and even in my head I was like, this isn't a good idea. But I was like, we already had the plane ticket and like, all this kind of stuff. So I was kind of like, I don't want to like, not go. Cause I do understand that, like, when you have an event and when you're with friends and stuff, you don't want to like not take the trip because you'd miss out, and like people were expecting me, I had friends that I'd made plans with and things like that. But like, I also wasn't like overburdening people by asking them to like, or having them expect to pay for me for stuff and like all kinds of things. I mean, when I booked the place, the friend that I had booked with was not pleased at all that it was like, they didn't have the bathrooms inside the room. Like, it was like a hallway kind of bathroom situation, shower as well. But I was like, all I really need is like a sink and a mini fridge and a microwave, so I can you save a little more on food. That's more what I was concerned about. And like the price of the hotel, like there was nothing like in the $100 range. It was like closer to $200 if you wanted like a bathroom in there with you. I was like, I'm not paying $400 just to stay in a freaking hotel after paying a fortune for this plane ticket, you know. And you know, it wasn't cheap, you know. It was Pride weekend, you know. So I do understand being like, I don't want to miss out on this trip. But I think too, it's like, you know, a lot of communication is necessary. I think that's more respectful to be like, look, you know, like, I'm struggling, but I really want to go on this trip, you know, like, it's just like, it's been like a hard time, and maybe the money is not there, but, you know, like, if you ask somebody to like spot you, and they don't owe you anything, everyone can say no, but it's like, I think that's the respectful route to take, is to mention, hey, I really just can't afford this, but, you know, I feel like I'd really be missing out, and, you know, it would really be a huge favor if you could like help me by paying for this. And like, you know, it might be a little bit embarrassing, but also it's kind of like more respectful, responsible. And then there's none of this kind of like everybody just kind of like them feeling like they're the victim and other people not like offering to pay for them for stuff when everybody else was pitching and paying for everything else. It's kind of like entitlement, maybe. I don't know, like, it's kind of like, don't expect other people to pay. But you know, and I mean, everybody has their reasons for stuff, but I just wonder, because that was an interesting story. I mean, I have plenty more to say about it, but I mean, I'll just keep it open. I you know, I think it's interesting. I wonder what others would think, what other people would think about this kind of a story scenario coming up in life, in their personal lives or anything. You know, I've had experiences like that, not anytime recently, but I've had experiences like that, hanging out with people that financially don't really have the same exact means. And I am a little bit like, there's kind of like a caution between like, is the person being using, or is it like, you know, they just want to hang out and genuinely get to know you and have fun, but they just don't have any money. Like, I try not to be like, okay, this person maybe isn't like, because I'm not like wealthy, and, you know, I haven't always had money too. Like, I've gone places where I didn't really want to spend, but I really wanted to hang out with my friends, but it was cool, you know, to just get like a drink or water or something like simple and just hang out and talk, you know, like boba shops and things like that, where I used to go with like church friends all the time, and it was never really like an issue. But then, you know, there were people who, you know, knew that maybe I didn't have work at that time. Like, it was during the economy crash in like 2008 time period, and it's like just getting out of grad school and having trouble finding work, and like, you know, they were friends, and, you know, they did me a solid. They never asked me to pay them back. They offered out of the goodness of their heart, but I never asked, if that makes sense. I wouldn't feel comfortable necessarily like asking somebody every weekend to be paying for me. But I don't know, like, you know, it's just something to look at, you know, to pay attention to. Like, I really try not to be like discriminating against people. Like, I've had people that I've gone to church with that were, you know, technically homeless, didn't have work, didn't have money, and it was like, you know, I still like make some, you know, occasion to try to hang out with them. Just, you know, that you're going to be using a lot more of your resources, but also it was kind of like, I don't want to be, I don't want to be like, I can't hang out if you don't have money. Like, that's not really what it is. It's just more like, you know, I'm a little cautious if people are like trying to be using, or, like, it's easy to feel used by somebody. It's easy to feel like somebody's being like manipulative, making you feel sorry or bad for them for not like paying for stuff. But it's also hard when it's like friends, you know, or people, you know, or people that you like. it can be a little frustrating because it's really hard to bring it up too. It's hard to be like, yo, like, you never have any money, like, it's like finances are already hard to talk about even when you do have money. It's just culturally, we don't talk about that kind of stuff. But great story. I love the story. I'm gonna finish the story. Those were my comments on it now, and I'm definitely gonna be listening to more Taco's content because it kind of made me smile. I kind of need things that kind of make me smile that aren't so serious. Like, I do listen to a lot of, like, Dave Ramsey and Ken Coleman and, like, Ben Greenfield and, like, all kinds of different podcasters and YouTubers and stuff. But sometimes it's, like, serious topics, like, about nutrition and health and money and, like, all these kind of topics. But, that's kind of the perspective, when it comes to, like, relationships, not necessarily like only dating, but, like, just, like, close friendships and stuff. It can be hard, when money starts coming between things. And like I said, I honestly haven't had, like, a lot of experiences where it's been, like, somebody's financially burdening me. At least I haven't, but I don't know. I found it interesting. But yeah, thanks for listening.